And I always say that if I was this ambitious back when I was in Ghana and I was now coming and I had all these dreams and all these things, I would not have come to the UK.
Whatever statistics that you consult, one thing is evident, that Black people in the UK and by extension all over the West are worse off than their white counterparts or even among other ethnic minorities. So why or how can we explain this phenomenon? We can, distinguish these into, the bigger structural issues. But that would simply be pointing fingers at other people without taking responsibility. And so we must also look within those personal factors that influence why our people, tend to be poorer than other ethnic minorities or compared to our white counterparts. And so in today's conversation, I want us to look at the subject of why are Black people abroad or in the diaspora worse off than their other counterparts? And to have this conversation with me is somebody who has lived abroad for the last, 200 years, and a very personal friend in the person of Nanelle Griselda, who is your most admired YouTuber. So, Nanelle, welcome to Diaspora Careers and Investments.
Thank you so much.
We share, some overlapping viewership. So I know your viewers will be very happy to see you on this channel, where we talk about, a subject that's very sensitive to both of us. I'm looking at the subject of why Black people tend to be, poorer than their, other ethnic minority counterparts or even their white counterparts. Would you agree to that observation to begin with?
I agree. I know that it's gradually going to change, or it has even started changing. But for the most part, yes, it is like that. Yeah, I agree.
So let's cut the chase. Why is this the case? And I want us to break it down and then look at how we can deal with it so that our people can be better off or can stop, the generational, poverty.
With this conversation, I'm just going to cast my mind back to my parents' situation, and then that's where most of my points are going to be raised from, looking at them. It's very personal, and then I know it firsthand. It's not like I've been told or I have read. For my parents, for most of my viewers, they know that my parents relocated to the US from Ghana about 2 decades ago, over 20 years ago, and they've been living in the US since. And they have made so many financial mistakes, so many. And I feel like that their experience has also helped me. I have only been in the UK for about 5 years. And most of the things that I know now based on finances, I'm using their mistakes as lessons in my life. So the first thing I'll say is, for back in the day, most migrants or some migrants used to migrate illegally, and because of their status in the countries that they were in, it was quite difficult for them to do certain things, okay, or to even look for opportunities in those countries. All they were concerned about was getting the legal status or doing something back home so that should they be deported, they can have something to go back to. So I think that is one. But these days with education, look at the gems you are sharing on your channel. There are so many legal ways that people are migrating through to the Western countries now. So, and then that gives most people, for most countries, it gives you the right to do certain things, right to assess certain things. So these days, that's why I'm saying that it's gradually going to change on that aspect of things. And another thing is that even after people have gotten, or even those that migrate legally as well, it's the mindset that they have. They told that you go to the US, you work hard, you go and bring your next cousin or your next brother, and for them also to come, and that person is also taxed with going to bring the next cousin.
So the first thing you've mentioned is the cost of illegal migration. It prohibits, your access to finance or even your ability to build wealth in the country you live in. So these people will then, repatriate a lot of the money home because they couldn't, build any wealth in the countries they live in.
A Filipino friend was saying that she sends, how much does she say? Is it £1,000 every month home? Wow. That is the amount she has to send to cater for her parents back home and her other siblings, because she has other siblings in universities back home, her parents, illnesses, medical treatment. That is how much. If you are working and you're making £2,000, and then you have to pay your bills here and then take care of yourself here, and you are sending half of it back home, what can you do with what you have left? There's not much you can do. And that is the situation. Some people are burdened, the black tax with the family bills and all of that. And so for such people, it's very, very difficult. It's extremely difficult. And for some people, they knew the situation back home, And then, so it's difficult for them to say, after they've come here, to say, I'm not going to help regardless, because they know how bad it was. And they want to help their family members, their siblings to get to better places. And then for some of them as well, they are tasked with, helping their siblings come over to also get a better future. So the black tax is also a very, very, very huge, huge part of it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my viewers and your viewers who'll be seeing this video, everyone will have their own experience of this concept of black tax. But really, it is one of the contributing factors to why our people are unable to build wealth. Because let's face it, unless you learn the habit of gathering, that is when you can invest or you can save to build something. And unfortunately, sometimes this black tax, dips its hand so much into your finances that there's no much to sow in the first place, or there's no much to invest in the first place, because they are all being squandered on consumable things that does not bring so much benefits. I mean, we've all had this experience where you're having to care for cousins you do not. Recently, we had a conversation along this line, and you told some people that you've not known from Adam or Eve.
Yeah.
You've never seen them, and yet you are being asked to pay their fees, or and of course, there are advantages to the way we were brought up. The sense of community is good, but sometimes when you are overburdened by it becomes, it hurts more than it does good. So yeah, the concept of black tax. In fact, let me know in the comments section if you've had your own share of this black tax and how that is impacting your finances, or how you're actually managing it. I think that's another part of the conversation we will come to if you stay till the end of this video. How do we actually navigate this? But first, let's list the problems, and then we can talk about how do we navigate this. So, any other ideas on why our people are poorer?
I'll also say that the mindset and the lack of the knowledge of the financial environment in the various countries where we are. I mean, I have learned so much from you, Dr. Dare. And some the mindset is that we are told that when you come, you do 2 jobs, you do 3 jobs, you gather lots of money, then you go and build back home. That is what is imprinted. So I know people that should know better, because they are well educated, and there's so many resources or information out there. But even till this age, they are all they are doing is gathering money, doing 2 shifts, agency shifts, and gathering money and giving it to people back home to, let's say, build a house, because that's all they know. From growing up, this uncle went to Germany and came to build a house in
Let me cut in there. I absolutely love how you started from history of how our people started migrating. Unfortunately, those of us who have come abroad in the last 10, 20 years, unfortunately, we seem to be learning from these uncles or these people who migrated illegally. And so the priorities were very different. In fact, that is a crucial point you've made there. Also, we need to recognize the age at which they migrated. These people migrated when, I don't know when your parents migrated, but they had you in Ghana at the time before they migrated.
Yeah.
So they migrated as adults. They had children back home who they had to care for. So their aim was to seek greener pastures, to care for their families back home. And as long as their families were better off, it gave them that satisfaction. But fortunately, unfortunately, as we say in Ghana, we are advantaged whereby we are migrating at a far younger age. In fact, I've spent most of my adult life here in the UK. So that if we copy from these people who migrated at 40, 50, the priorities are different. I mean, I married in the UK. I've had my child in the UK. The priorities must be different from somebody who migrated when they were 40. And I think that is crucial that our listeners, of course, it's good to learn from other people, but know who you are learning from. The circumstances may be extremely different. And if you're not careful, you may be copying wrongly. I mean, I know it's a bit of blab here. I've got many friends, like your friends, who are building in Ghana or building, in Nigeria or elsewhere. Unlike over here, whereby you can get a mortgage for, say, 10,000, 20,000, or even 30,000, can get you a house that you live in, and then you start paying bit by bit. Back home, £30,000 is not going to get you a house. And unless the house is complete, nobody can live in. And so it becomes like, a money pit, so to say, you dump in money until it's done. And then you ask yourself, are you even going to relocate to Africa or relocate to Asia to live in that house? Perhaps not. You may go, for 2 weeks in a year. And oh, I'm sure you know the size of houses our people are building. So yeah, the financial education. I mean, you rightly say. Uh,
It's so stressful, Shadrach, that
mm,
I know people personally, friends, that I have explained these things to, yet they are doing the same thing.
mm, mm,
You hear someone, oh, I just sent this amount home, or I'm looking for somebody who has this amount home. I said, what are you doing? Oh, there's this piece of land. I'm like, are you planning to go home in the next 3, 4, 5 years? No.
mm,
Okay. You've been here for 4 years. How many times have you been home? Once. How
yeah,
long did you stay? 2 weeks.
yeah,
Some people even have maximum 5 weeks the whole year as annual
mm,
leave.
mm,
Even if you decide to go home every single year, so far as you've not decided to move permanently over there, you have only 5 weeks and the entire year to go home. Why
mm,
are you then building a house now back home when you don't intend to go there permanently and you only have 5 weeks in the entire year?
mm.
Aside that, you know very well that you may not, the person you are giving the money to may misuse the money as well. And
Don't
this is
go there. Don't go there. Don't go there.
much. So it stresses the hell out of me when even people that I know. For me, honestly, I have gotten people, older people who, let's say, moved abroad years ago, like my parents, who advised me against some of these things. My
Yeah.
daddy will say, thank God I have a house now. If you should go home now, go to the house. There's no need building one there. Make sure you're comfortable where you are. My father-in-law will say the same thing. Do not even dare come to build now. Buy as many houses as you can in this UK. Whenever you want to move, sell one of it, and then it can get you something over there. And
Mm,
I'm lucky to have such people. They have been here before, and then now they know. I have a friend who's a nurse, and I know he might watch this. Shadrach, this guy works so hard.
mm,
If I show you the properties that this guy has started building in Ghana, the
mm.
foundation alone, like serious mansions.
Yeah.
Do you know, recently I was speaking to him now and he's paused everything. He was building,
Mm,
let's say, like 4 different houses at a time, massive, massive plans, and he's paused everything. His strength could no longer go on, and he's now trying to sell up to where the level he has reached. And then people are saying this not a kind of plan that they would want, blah blah blah.
yeah.
Because it's not done. It's nowhere close to finishing. And you know what he told me? And I know I should have listened to you guys. Now
Yeah.
I'm only saving money because I want to move to Australia, and immediately I go to Australia and buy my house.
Yeah.
I should have listened to, because he's still renting here in the UK,
Imagine.
and he has sent, I can say, maybe not less than £50,000 over to Ghana, and now
Yeah.
it's stuck. He cannot
Yeah.
pull it back. He's not making any profit from it, and now
Yeah.
it's stuck. Meanwhile, 50,000 could have bought maybe 2 houses, because
Yeah.
obviously if you're buying a second house, you need maybe 25% deposit, maybe 2 houses or even three, and then
Absolutely.
now you understand. So
Yeah.
I hope that they're not only listening, but they'll take advice from it.
Of course, we have to be open-minded as well. If it is your situation that your people, your parents, or you do not have any place where you can stay, then that's fine. But if your parents are dead, I mean, with all due respect, if both of them are dead, and you don't need to be going to Ghana or going to Africa, then there's something very common, but many people are not aware, called hotels or Airbnbs. You can rent for 2 weeks, because I remember we had a place, a friend was trying to get me to buy a place in Accra, but it was so far away into the argument was that, oh, there's no Wi-Fi in Accra, it will develop. I'm like, if I'm in Ghana for 2 weeks, I don't want to stay a place where I'll be in traffic for 2 hours before I get to the city. I want to stay around, where I can, enjoy my time in Accra. So I'd rather invest over here, and then for the 2 weeks money I'll spend in Ghana, I'm sure I'll get it from my rents over here. So that bottom line, I can rent over here, take the money, and then come and rent in Ghana for the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's the same money. So I guess people need to put this in perspective, that, buildings can be a money pit, unfortunately. And that
Yeah.
sense of pride, I have my own place in Ghana, or, this huge.
The family members back home are also past. Like you said, your mother, she's probably
Mm,
wants to brag that, oh, my son went to the UK and in 5 years, look at the mansion he's built. You understand? Yes,
yeah.
that's the mindset. That's what she knows. She thinks it's
Mm,
a good thing. But like you said, the family dynamics as well, based on your
mm,
situation. Maybe you
mm.
lived in a very horrible place and then you want to give them something and to live in temporary. But even that, I'm saying that it shouldn't be like your dream
Oh,
home.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
reasonable, like at
Oh
least
yeah.
something that will not take too much, but at least will make your family members comfortable. So that is it, because that's one major thing.
In fact, my mom knows better now. I asked her one time, which would you be more proud, that your son owns a house in the UK or owns a house in our village? I mean, so I think when people put this in perspective, it helps. I've argued that, as long as I live here in this United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, I'm going to build my wealth here because this is where God promised me is the promised land. On any day, if I decided, in fact, and the good thing is that now there are elderly people who are living this life, and we know that this formula works. One of my former pastors, when he retired, he sold one of his houses here and bought a house in Accra. I mean, how do you argue? He had, I think, about 3 or 4 houses here. Sold one of them. In fact, I think he sold two. One was, an inheritance to his children. Gave each of them like £10,000 each or something like that. And then sold one. Went to use that money to buy a place in Accra, and then use part of the other money to, start a farm in Ghana. That's where he lives. He has got 2 rental properties here. He comes here like every 6 months or something to take his retirement as well as his rental income, and then goes back. He's only left a single room in one of the houses where he stays whenever he's around. And I was like, wow,
But
we should be teaching this in our churches, because we know that this works. The times are changing, and our people also must, be like the sons of Issachar, and then, change with it. If not, we'll continue to be impoverished. Let's go to the mindset. I know this is all about mindset, and then financial knowledge.
like you're saying, when people come here, they do not educate themselves. They think, oh, because over here I can easily get anything so far as I've got good credit. They get so much debt without really understanding how it's going to affect them long term. And
Mm,
then
mm,
they waste their money. They get the nicest car from day one that they come here, when
yeah.
they don't even have their mortgage deposit or whatever, and get the nicest devices and even clothes, like surprisingly, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah. Another thing with the knowledge aspect is that we do not do our research, obviously, because I think we are scared. I don't know if it's because we are scared to take risk or whatever. I said this in one of my videos before, that my mom actually said that one of her clients did mention the S&P 500 to her
Mm,
years back. You understand? And it was only several years later when I was also telling her that, did you never hear of this? My mom is so hardworking. The award she's received
mm,
from the company
mm,
she works for, as like their best sort of like care assistants for the entire year. She's so hardworking. The gift she has received, and I'm like, so all this money, right? Why could you not use some to invest
mm,
in? And she said, yeah, somebody did mention it to me about what years ago, but I don't know
mm.
if it's because obviously their level of education is totally different from our level of education, and for us, we don't have any excuses. Like, everything is in our face.
I mean, to be fair, we've come from a system. I mean, I must admit that I have not always known what I know now. I had to learn because we had come from a system whereby, debt ran away. Like, you see debt run away, we mortgage, you're going to pay for 30 years. No, you'll probably die before you own the house. So all these things, all these little things, we need to unlearn them and then relearn them. Of course, unfortunately, not many people are willing to, go through the learning process. And so once they come, in fact, some people come with some mindset from back home. They come with that mindset that I'm coming to make money, repatriate, and then build wealth back home. But then, things don't go so well because I'm sure we've all heard of the stories of, people, or you've seen videos of people who thought they were sending, thousands of pounds or dollars home for a mansion, only to go and see, a sorry state of, some foundation and something that is not worth even hundreds of pounds. And yeah, so our people back home also, sometimes have let, hardworking migrants down, and sometimes it's not ended so well. We are also collectively to be blamed, aren't we? Our people don't work together. In fact, let us see the Asian community, how they build, each other up, how they build their wealth. In fact, the community comes together to help me buy my house outright. And then we do the same. So once I own my house outright, other people would live with me. And then we contribute to help other people to also buy theirs. So because one of the things that let our people down is the high interest rates. If you're paying, £1,000 in mortgage interest per month on a house, I mean, that's £1,000 gone, or even 800, or even, and 1,000 is pretty standard at the moment. So in the end, our people pay a lot of money into interest, and that is like, 12 years, 10 years of your mortgage payments, which you could have reduced if there was no interest. So what some of these other communities do is that they come together, help one person buy their house. You host other people, they also work, contribute for the other person. So within a space of say 10 years, or so, you would have all owned your houses, and then you wouldn't have paid into interest or lost any much money. So that is how some of these communities work.
Oh, I
But
see.
we don't trust ourselves. We are not trustworthy. Unfortunately, our people, are too clever. That's what I'm looking for. We are too clever. Somebody will try to outwit you or will try to cheat you out. But even that, I must say, is also changing. I mean, I've got some trustworthy, friends and collaborations, and I mean, I have absolutely no regret at all. But sometimes you have to invest a bit, to know these people, or get to meet the right persons. In fact, over here, I know some friends who also do. In Ghana, we used to call it susu.
Yeah.
Even the Ugandans also have it,
Started doing
whereby,
it too, yeah.
yeah, whereby they contribute money and give. So I think that these are the aspects of our culture that we can use to our advantage. So what they do is that every month they contribute, say, I think £500 to one person. So if you have 10 of you, that is what, £5,000. So in a particular month, see, you and I will have £5,000 in your pocket, and you can use it for something good, an investment or something. And for the rest of the month, you would now contribute 500 to other people, and then it goes on. So
So
that can be
a 10-month loan of 5,000 without any interest.
without any interest, exactly, without any interest. But of course, you need trustworthy people in the circle, because one person can break, the circle if they don't pay their fair share. I mean, I don't do any of these, but I know people who are doing it for years and it's working. And
My dad has been doing it for several years, and then most
mm,
of the properties he
mm,
uses the money, because over there they are not doing £500 like we are doing here. They are doing like $2,000 a month and all that.
oh,
Yes,
and that's good money,
yes, that's good money.
because with that you can get a deposit for your house in.
That's good money. And
Yeah,
then they've been doing it for years. And this
yeah,
is not two people, three people, it's like
yeah.
10, 11 people.
Mm,
So you get yours, let's say, beginning of the year, you have, let's say, $22,000. That can do a lot. Okay.
yeah,
So even when he's talking about how much he earns, automatically that money he's deducted it already, like
yeah,
psychologically.
yeah.
And especially, it's very good for people that are not disciplined to put that money aside.
Mm,
But because they don't want to betray the group and they want to keep being part, by force, or you'd have to pay. So I think it's very good, especially for people
mm.
that are not disciplined. Yeah, very, very good.
I know we've looked inwards now, we've blamed ourselves and taken responsibility. But
Yeah,
we cannot do away with the bigger issues, the structural issues, the bondages around. I mean,
yeah,
there's a Guardian article I read the other day that says that it is impossible to understand the income inequalities in the UK without looking at the monster in the face of racism. Do you think there's some responsibility to be put on authorities also, the role of racism?
in a way, yeah, in a way, yeah,
In a way, yeah. I see what you're doing, that you'd rather not blame the system more than personal, because some of our people, I know black millionaires who have come out of the system,
yeah,
but of course, not many people can fight the system that much. I mean, even in the workplace,
yeah,
sometimes, you are denied some promotions because of, the color of your passport,
yeah,
or there are some jobs you cannot access because of your visa status. I mean, these are, some real, and of course, with each job promotion comes, some financial incentive also, so that
yeah,
regardless of how much you work and hard, if you're being denied these opportunities, then of course it would also against you.
yeah.
uh, you've spoken about migration here in the
Mhm.
UK, for example. If you are on a skilled worker visa, you are
Oh,
meant to work for only your employer. I mean, you're a nurse, so you are even fortunate,
about it.
you know
Yes, that is a huge one, especially for those in the UK. That is a
yeah,
huge one, and it's not like that in other Western countries. So for those who want to migrate to other countries, you're allowed to do. But for instance, yes, and I always say that if I was this ambitious back when I was in Ghana, and I was
mm,
now coming, and I had all these dreams and all these things. I would not have come to the UK because
mm,
all those 5 years, there's so many things that I wanted to do that I
mm,
was so restricted. I told you I
mm,
took an immigration advisor course about 3 years ago.
mm.
And because based on what I do, I wanted to actually do it professionally, start my own immigration advisory firm. And I was reminded of the fact that I am not allowed to do that on my visa.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
understand? After I have paid for the course, gone through the course, blah blah blah. And there's so many people that want to do so. Some people want to deal in cars, import and export. So many people have
yeah,
serious
yeah,
issues
yeah,
that they are
mm,
restricted because of the kind of visa they are on, and it's not fair.
yeah.
5 years is a long time. If it was 1 year, we can make do, but 5 years is a long time.
And I think there's this element that when you have a drive that you want to do something and somebody tells you no, you cannot do it, over time, the energy, the strength, the passion, that once drove you wanes, it goes down and you've got no motivation to do it. And sometimes some things are just about timing, as much as I don't like to time things. I mean, some things are just, if you don't do it now, in 2, 3 years, it goes out of fashion and, you
That
cannot
is
do
so
it
true.
again.
Because the time that I really wanted to do that, to have my own immigration advisory firm, that was the time that lots of people wanted to come to the UK on their
Mm,
care visa. That was the time that it had reached its peak, and and I took the course. And now migration to the UK is already declining. It's like people
yeah.
are already, now there's so many restrictions.
Let's talk about the taxes. I mean, absolute ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I speak about. I know the health surcharge is helpful, to many people, but we pay more taxes as immigrants than our counterparts. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how much you spent you're a nurse, so you got some of the visa application fees for free. But I've been in academia for a while now, and every time I've had to change jobs, I have to pay for visa application. Sometimes it costs like 2,000, some over 2,000 pounds, and that is like 1 month or 2 months salary gone. So even before you started working, you've lost 2 months salary, and there's no way, you'll catch up with your white counterpart because they have access to public funds, they have access to benefits that you are not entitled to. In addition, you've had to pay, health surcharge, even though this is being deducted from your salary already, because we pay, for NHS through, NI and all of that.
Yeah.
And yet we have to pay,
And most people don't even go to
ridiculous.
the hospital. They would rather do their own whatever concoction in the house and then take. It's really unfair. It is
Yeah,
so unfair.
that I agree. That
It's
I agree.
unfair. But like I said, I that's what I'm saying. That see, it's more about like research. Like that like I invited you to on my channel. We spoke about legal ways to pay less tax. You
Mm,
understand? There's
mm,
so many ways that we can go about this. Maybe we are losing on that side, but we can
mm,
do other things on another aspect and then save some money. And it's all about the knowledge. You see, if you don't have the
mm.
knowledge, you just keep, and then you just lose hope. And then you tell yourself that as for this place, there's nothing you can do. And then that becomes
Yeah.
you for the next 10 years.
It
But
becomes your mantra. That's right.
yes, for the
That's
next
right.
10 years. But if you let it go and then you look for other ways and you research, let's say get a side hustle, that's what I'm saying. That see, people would rather watch, let's say, a Dr. Likey video or a comedy video than watch this video. And that is the truth. That is the truth.
I know life is too hard now. We talk about difficult things. If somebody wants to talk about difficult things on my channel, it's always too much numbers. So I should bring it down a bit,
It's going to cost the person. It's going to cost the person maybe £5,000.
Hmm.
But you not you I had no idea what S&P 500 was until I invited you to my channel the first time. And it was later that I realized that this is actually something very common. Like, once you start on YouTube, once you start watching finance videos, they start recommending so many to you, and then you keep hearing the same things, and you're like, oh, okay, so even this person is doing this. Oh, Dave Ramsey is even saying this. Oh, and I first heard it from this guy. Oh, okay, you understand.
Yeah.
If you don't do your research and if you don't educate yourself,
I think it's a community that you find yourself in also. I mean, to be fair, all of my friends around me, I mean, if you don't have stocks and shares, then I mean, you cannot be my friend. I mean, you must have some, because that's a conversation I'm having all the time, whether asking about, whether you are thinking of getting new stocks or, what shares are you buying, how's your portfolio performing? how's the interest rates? I mean, my wife, doesn't even contribute to my conversations again because she feels it's always about the same thing.
I
Because I
think
mean, I told
mine is a bit balanced. Me, I'll talk about makeup, I'll talk about fashion.
her.
Mine is a bit balanced. I'll talk about relationships. Mine is a bit balanced. But I like the fact that you are into that, and then you go and then you bring us the gym. Sometimes I know very well that I can go and read, but I'd rather call you for you to
Yeah,
explain to me. You understand? So it's
yeah,
good. Keep it
yeah.
up. So I read
That
that
really helps. I mean, what would men talk about? I mean, if not, whether business,
football,
investments.
sports.
I don't do a lot. Don't talk about football. It's a very bad time to talk about football to a Ghanaian. It's a very bad time.
I said sports.
Yeah, sports is fine. In fact, I'm now into boxing. At least that one. If the person I'm supporting doesn't win, you get a severe beating. So I think. I know we've gone a bit into the time because I'm enjoying the conversation. But let us wrap up with how can we help our
For
people?
one, I think you gave a very good point that about the example of your is it a pastor you
Mm,
mentioned.
mm, mm,
I
mm.
think that Africans love to go to church. Our people love religious and they love to listen to our pastors. If Pastor Jerry is a of I've forgotten NS what or
NSPPD. What God cannot do
does
does
not
not
exist.
exist.
If NSPPD talks about this, or if
Mm,
Alpha Hour in Ghana
mm,
talks about this and educates people in the diaspora, 90% of the people would accept it because it's coming from such a person that they respect so much, and I think that is one way, they should help us, they should put it in our
yeah,
faces, you
yeah,
know, and then let us understand some of these things, and then take advantage of some of the opportunities here. We should be taught, we
yeah.
should be taught. And then for those of us as well, research, read, go to platforms like Diaspora Careers and Investments, and then
Ah,
it's true, honestly. And then learn a few things, and educate yourself, read as well. You understand?
there's one aspect we did not mention. Most of our people who have also migrated, many are into jobs that are not finance related. We both train as nurses. I was not taught about stocks and shares in nursing school. Neither did I learn about, compound interest anywhere. You see, so we must admit that we may be good technically in our fields of nursing or medicine or academia, but when it comes to finance, we have to be humble to learn. For those watching, let me know what your experience is regarding why our people are poorer. What have you done differently that has worked for you? In fact, do let me know if you've got some perspective to share. I'm happy to even interview you. Well, Nanelle, I'll leave you to give some closing comments, and then we can pull the curtains down.
Okay, so I'll say that once again, thanks for having me here. I hope that even after they have heard this, they'll go and then do their own research, and then
Mm,
and make sure that they're making the right decisions in terms of their finances. But one last thing that I'll say is that over here, most people are working for people. I mean, and if you're working for, let's say you're working as a nurse, and you are on a national pay scale, you cannot make money surpass a certain limits unless
of
you have to
course.
cancel, or unless you want to do overtime, which is also very stressful to your health, and then
Yeah,
you don't get to have time for your family. So I'm an advocate of people having a side hustle or
yeah,
doing something in addition to what they are doing. I say that having only one source of income is like having no source of income, and I really believe that. So I think we should do something in that. But make sure you do your research well and know that you're doing the right thing. So that's what I
yeah.
would add. Yeah.
No, thank you very much for blessing our channel today, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks
Yeah.
for viewing us today, and kindly subscribe if you've not already subscribed. God bless and thank you.
Bye bye.